Call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson. Mr. Majors.
Here.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Denton.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item will be the statement by our Board Vice President.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in other silent activity.
Thank you. Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Board Clerk, Mr. Jerry Denton.
Please stand. Salute. Pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, next item will be the formal adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Denton.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item, board minutes from the January 16th meeting. Discussion.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Denton.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 6, Mr. Tolomeo.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I am here to talk about, we have won, we submitted and we have won for the Timber Ridge Elementary School AGC Build Oklahoma Award. It's a state award given by the AGC Associated General Contractors of America once a year, and there's different categories, and Timber Ridge won the category for education, $10 to $20 million.
Sweet.
So
That's very good.
we got a trophy and everything.
Bob, where's the trophy?
Luckily for me, my contractors are better at delivering buildings on time. I have a feeling they'll be running in the building here in the next 2 minutes. I got stuck in traffic.
All right, no problem.
Great job, though. Congratulations. Y'all
Thank
did a
you, guys.
fantastic job.
Hey, Bob, one thing I wanted to say is I have some friends that live out of state, and they get to talking on Facebook and all those things, and she's a former alumni and has been sharing all your construction pages. They have a big bond issue coming up in their town and just bragging on what you all are doing and everything. So,
Well, thank you.
great job.
Thanks.
Next item, item number 7, Ms. Birdwell.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I'm going to ask Ms. Dotson to join me and let her really talk about this next donation that we'd like you to accept.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for letting us be here tonight. As you know, January was a very emotional month for Leisure Park. We lost an extraordinary teacher and a friend. And I just wanted to take a moment before I introduce my guest to say thank you. And if you're going to go through a crisis, Broken Arrow Public Schools is a place to be. I'm telling you, Carla Dias is worth her weight in gold, which isn't very much. She's worth my weight in gold. Yeah, she stepped in and to have that kind of support, she did represent everyone in the authority of power here at Broken Arrow, and it was unbelievable to get to watch all of those resources come to our aid. And we're still getting condolences and just little pick-me-up gifts from our schools and friends. So thank you for that. And today we have a very special guest here, Mr. Larry Wells, and he is from Farmers Insurance, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the donation they're going to make in honor of Cindy and Kevin Davis.
Well, thank you. It's a privilege to be here, certainly in front of the board, my first time, and I'm not in trouble, so that's good. I can still remember having to go to the principal's office occasionally. So,
not complaining either, are you?
We're not in trouble either, so it's a two-way street. So
okay,
thank
that's
you.
Good. Just a little background. My wife, Ruth Ann Wells, was a fourth grade teacher at Leisure Park for 17 years. I think taught with your sister, didn't she, Cheryl, I think, when she was there. So she was there actually when Cindy began her teaching career. And Leisure Park has always been kind of a close-knit group as far as the faculty and everything, and they'd have get-togethers, and that's where Kevin and I first met before we were with Farmers. Later on, Ruth Ann's dad, who was a district manager with Farmers Insurance for over 30 years, hired me on as an agent. Second career for me, and I was an agent for about 23 years, now retired. And then Kevin and I reconnected through Farmers. He was on the corporate side, I was on the agency side. And immediately, I had a good friendship. And when I got ready to retire a few years ago, I went into conversation with Kevin, and he ended up buying my agency. Unfortunately, 6 months into that transaction, he was diagnosed with glioblastoma. So he and Cindy are very well known with Farmers, and Farmers wanted to do something to memorialize this family, this couple, and their achievements and also their contribution to Broken Arrow Public Schools. And so the statue, which will be erected on the grounds there at the school, I think will be really neat. I've seen pictures of it. The sculptor, I think, is up in Owasso, and there's several up there around. So really, it's a great thing, I think, and in their honor. Good people come and go, and there are a lot of good people, but every once in a while there are special people. And Kevin and Cindy were a special couple, and so it's just really an honor for Farmers to be able to do this for this school system, and just to have this as a remembrance for them. So we're glad to do that, and look forward to seeing it erected and put into place. So.
And something that he's too modest to tell you is that they have already donated a $5,000 gift to Leisure Park PTA to erect that statue. Nice. It's a very generous offer, and thank you very much for doing that for us.
Well, as he spoke, you can tell there's a lot of memory there, but it will be a very nice statue for the front of Leisure Park. It'll be similar to what we did at Sequoia. We plan to do some hardscaping and some softscaping there, where they have their butterfly way station, so that we can plant the plants around it that attract the butterflies, and I think it'll make a very beautiful front to Leisure Park.
Well, I know personally, Mr. Wells, I want to thank you and, for your generosity, and Farmers Insurance as well. Not doing any advertising, but I'm a longtime client of yours. So, but it means a lot, and like you said, special people, they're hard to replace, so they'll be dearly missed. But because of you all and Farmers, they'll be around for a long, long time. So thank you. Next item.
We got to vote on that, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. Gladly.
Make a
Any
motion.
other conversation?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Comments from the public, we have none. Next item will be the approval of the consent. Any discussion or conversation?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item, 49. Mr. Tolomeo.
Good evening. I'm here to seek your approval to hire an architect for the central and main windows. Because it is a historic building, we feel the need to hire an architect to make sure we get that watertight and prevent them from leaking.
So is this for all the leaking windows that,
It is for all, the architect will come and specify and design windows for all the windows in the whole
be glad
central
to
and
hear,
main
be glad
building.
about that, won't you? Should you be glad when that's done, won't you?
So this cost is just for the architect?
This is just the architect, yes, sir.
Move approval.
Second? Oh, go ahead. Teresa.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes,
And you're not going to have voting buttons because it jumped up.
I jumped ahead, okay. Next item,
Sorry.
50, Mr. Ptolomeo.
This is to seek your approval for an architect to turn the old maintenance shop into a child nutrition office space, and it will be paid for through child nutrition funding.
Bob, where's that located?
It's,
Is that on the west side of North?
yes,
Right.
it's on 5th Street, 4th Street?
It was across the street from the old baseball, football fields? Is that what it was?
Yes, yes. I don't know the physical address for that
Yeah,
one.
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Next item, 51, Ms. Peterson. No hurry.
Been up here already. Good evening. I am asking for approval for our gifted education plan. It had not been updated in many years, and so we needed to reflect the changes in our gifted programming. So it has already been submitted to the state. So it has been approved by the state, but we just need it approved by our board.
Move approval.
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes,
All right, and the next item is I'm seeking approval to utilize RSA funds to purchase Making Meaning for our teachers, actually all teachers in grades K through 3 to include our special education level 1 classrooms also. We didn't just arbitrarily make this decision. We looked at many different things that we could provide for our teachers to help in their core reading instruction. We actually have some teachers across the district piloting it. The feedback has been unbelievable about the types of student engagement that utilizing this is creating. And it really will be the first layer of moving toward a balanced literacy approach in each of our kindergarten classrooms. There is a plan to purchase for 4th and 5th grade prior to the beginning of the school year, but I will have to wait till June to bring that to you for approval.
Move approval.
Second?
motion and a second, please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, next item, 53.
Mr. Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board, I'm here to ask for your approval to purchase 579 Chromebooks using Title I funds. The total cost will be $117,537, paid for out of Title I.
You know, it was kind of interesting that they don't pay for the warranty. But then you can't even attach the warranty if it were that, we had other means.
Well, we did find out, so for next year, we can purchase the warranty. It was too late by the
Okay.
time we researched that out. In the past, they wouldn't allow that, but Kelly Burnett actually emailed the state and pled them our case, and so they're going to let us in the future. But we had to have it at the same time, and they didn't have enough funds because of how many they purchased. So we will
No,
be able to
I
do
think
that
that's-
next year.
I think that's good that the question was posed and we're having ongoing conversation. We can improve that next year, but I certainly support this.
Ms. Redfield, what are these used for versus what we currently use Chromebooks for?
All kinds of things. I mean, classroom interventions.
Is it different grade levels than what we're currently using?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's, okay.
Yeah. Mhm. Elementary.
Okay.
Move approval?
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Burns.
Well, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Dunlop, President Allen. I'm excited to be here tonight and share with you what I think is significant progress and something that I hope will be a great help to our students. I wanted to share with you the advisory plan that we're putting into place in accordance with the strategic plan for the district. You're aware of the ICAP and what all that will entail for our students. And, you know, I'll be honest and say in the past advisory and RTI periods at the high school have faced significant challenges. We counted, I think, 4 different incarnations of some sort of advisory or RTI that occurred really over a 5-year period. It's been kind of over the last 8 years, but in a 5-year period that were tried, and none of them are still in existence at the high school. So we want to put something in place that we feel like will be helpful and will be sustainable. And so we'll start next year once a week on Tuesday with a 30-minute period that we're planning to put in between second and third period each day. Right now we have something called Mandatory Mondays on Monday, which sounds a little heavy-handed. And so we're going to change that period that the kids enjoy, that is really sharing news by our video classes, and change it to Tuesday News Day. And so that 30-minute period will start with Tuesday News Day. One thing that we like about it is every teacher will know exactly what they're supposed to do. They put on the news, and that's how it starts. And it'll be something positive that kids enjoy and something comfortable that teachers are already familiar with. We're going to put the kids into grade level groups. So 10th graders will be with other 10th graders, juniors with juniors, seniors with seniors. As the years go on, the kids will loop up with the same teacher year after year. And the hope is that that will provide an adult advocate for all of those students, so that there is someone who gets to know them, who is not necessarily one of their academic teachers, although they might be, who really cares about them, who knows how they are doing in their classes. That first little segment of the Tuesday News Day will be followed by something else electronic. We feel like we want to tie in to those Chromebooks that are being successful, and that's something that we've not had the benefit of using before. And so we can push out grade level specific information that would be helpful to the students. How do you read your transcript? How do you figure your GPA? What do you do if you run into this particular situation or that? Some things will be appropriate for all the students. Some things it'll be more appropriate to break up into grade levels. One of our big challenges at the high school is that there is no time during the day that we will capture all of our students on our campus, because we'll always have kids who are out at tech or kids who are at concurrent. And so if we push out that information on the Chromebook, then even if you're absent, or you're off campus, then you can take advantage of that aspect of the advisory. In fact, that would be 2 different aspects of the advisory that they'll be able to take advantage of electronically. So what about that last section of that 30-minute class? That is a time when teachers should know how is each student doing in their classes? How can I, spend some time making relationships, visiting with the students, talking with them about the concerns that I have about their grades, answering questions for them. Our hope is that there will be such a strong sense of community that is built that kids don't want to miss advisory, that they want to be there, and that the teacher knows them well enough that if they do miss, when they see them, they say, gosh, we missed you on Tuesday. Where were you? Be back next week because we want to be sure that we see you. I think it's going to be something very, very positive. Before we got started, visited extensively with our department heads. We solicited input from teachers, and the teachers said, for it to work, we need to know the purpose, and we need to feel comfortable. We need to know what it is that we're supposed to accomplish, and we all need to be doing it, and there needs to be accountability. We have had some issues in the past with a lot of movement during this time. So our hope is in that first year, everybody is assigned to a place, everybody knows where they're supposed to be, and they report there, and they stay there. So in the second year, we begin to get a little more ambitious. We go to 2 days a week. We stick with that Tuesday format that everybody feels comfortable with, and that's still advisory. But in the second year, we add a Thursday RTI time. And that RTI will be primarily electronic, again, where we are pushing out resources to students. You're having trouble with math, with this math concept. Here are half a dozen different math resources. Let me show you how to access it. Because I'm an English teacher, believe me, you do not want me helping you with your calculus. But if you show me how I can look up a resource that would be helpful to a student to answer their question, I can do that. I can feel comfortable with that. We can equip teachers to feel comfortable with that and to push that out to kids electronically. We'll continue to work with teachers some too. We specifically placed it on Thursday because Wednesday is that day that we're in our PLCs. And in the PLCs, particularly the English and the math ones, the teachers will be analyzing data and making those advisory RTI teachers aware of, here are the kids who are struggling, this is what they're struggling with. I'm sending you information about the student that you can use. And in the second semester in particular, we may begin to utilize some very limited movement to help students get back with teachers who can specifically sit down with them and help them. And then in the third year, we keep that very same format. Tuesday advisory, Thursday RTI, but with much more movement. Where if you want to spend some more time with your AP teacher, you can go and be with the AP teacher who can help you. If you need to go get help from any other teacher, we can do that. But hopefully that will give us a good bit of time that we can establish some routines. It will also give us a chance to set up 2 things that we feel like you have to have in order for this to be successful on our campus. One is structure, and the second is accountability. Accountability not only for our students, but for our staff, so that everybody knows what the expectation is, but that everybody feels prepared and enabled to be successful. And again, how do you make a really, really big school feel small? You create smaller communities, and that's what this is all about.
Ms. Burns, I do have a question. As we move into, and you talked about the iterations that we've used before and those not being as successful.
Yeah.
And we're moving into this new phase. And so my question is, as with anything, it really I want to compliment you and compliment those that are working with you on this RTI and on the advisory. I think this is going to serve our teaching staff and our students very nicely. But at the same time, we're going to probably have some challenges as we move into this. And one of the things I really appreciate is having those ongoing conversations with staff members when they have challenges that aren't intended, that they have a place to talk about those so that we can address them and move forward, still maintaining the focus and the goal and not throwing everything out.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I think what we have right now are the bones of a good plan. But I can guarantee you, just as surely as I'm standing here tonight, that there will be changes, I'm sure, as we go on, because we want to continue to seek input from our staff all along. And we want to create that atmosphere where people feel comfortable with saying, boy, this is working for me, but this is not. Our kids are not being successful with this. And I'm sure they will have a lot of suggestions for how to improve the process, how to continue to make it something that is a big win for students and for teachers. Because, I think that we ask a lot of our teachers if we are asking them to give up valuable instructional time in the day, then it can't be simply because we said so. It needs to be something where they see the value and where they see that value in the improvement in the students, and where they look forward to that time as well and feel well equipped to deal with it. So you're exactly right. We will certainly continue to get input from them, and they've been great at helping us kind of come to this first initial plan, and I'm sure that they will in continuing to flesh it out.
I make one last point. I've had some conversation, and I do believe overall that the staff appreciates the phase-in. I think that that's going to help us be more successful.
That's certainly our hope. Our hope was to begin small and experience success and build on that success. One of the things that we had been able to identify that had been kind of a roadblock in the past was maybe starting too big and biting off too much at once. And so we're excited, and I think that I'm looking forward to what it can mean on our large campus to our students.
Mrs. Burns, one of the things about a phase-in I think that we oftentimes forget, and I love the way you're doing this, is that we rely on those upperclassmen to show the underclassmen how to behave in those situations. Mm-hmm. So if you implement it all at once, then the upperclassmen don't have that experience. But by phasing it in, then when you do get your incoming sophomores, those upperclassmen can model appropriate behavior.
That's certainly our hope. And one last thing, too, I think it also gives us the opportunity to be very intentional with the focus, because sometimes that seems to have been a little lost in the past. And so that first year, that focus is entirely advisory. And in the second year, then we can differentiate between advisory and RTI. And I think it will help our staff to be more effective. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Burns. Next item, 55, Ms. Enoff.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. January is kind of our Super Bowl in the finance world for getting a lot of money in, and we're very grateful for that. And I think I've talked about how we really depend upon our fund balance until we get that big influx of cash in January from ad valorem collection. It's okay. The good news is our ad valorem is up about $2 million from where we were at this point last year. If you recall, we saw about a 5 to 6% growth in our overall net assessed valuation, and so what that results for the school district is a very stable cash collection. our state aid to date is allocated at $44.7 million, which is obviously a good amount of money also, but we typically collect our ad valorem dollars at a rate of 98, 99%, so it's a very stable. Our current weighted ADM factor for state aid is $3,045. The state actually did adjust that by a few dollars at the midterm point, and we've collected 54% of that allocation to date. Like I said, our ad valorem has seen a lot of growth with our net assessed valuation, and the other good point for the district is as interest rates continue to rise and the economy continues to recover, we're able to invest those dollars and actually make some money off our money, which I know Ms. Dallahan has been very happy with some of the investment rates with our banks and being able to invest those dollars to make them go a little bit further than we have in the past. So that's good news for the district. The other state sources continue to be stable for us in terms of our flex benefit allowance and what we're collecting in there. And our federal sources, you can see there's a bit of a timing difference between some of those claims that have been filed, but we fully expect those to catch up to where they were at this point last year.
You know, that's a really iffy point right now at this juncture with the new allocation regarding federal sources. So I'm sure we're going to be keeping a very close eye on that.
Mm-hmm. Our federal sources are about $6 or $7 million of our total revenue budget, and obviously we have a lot of positions and funded out of those budgets, so they're extremely valuable to the district. Building fund, again, we're in the same boat for our ad valorem collection. That's a very small fund for the district, and that's where our maintenance and plant operations are funded from. So, again, a good stable collection source for us with our ad valorem dollars. Child nutrition, our local and federal sources are based upon students served and revenue brought in, and again, we're extremely lucky that our child nutrition is so self-sufficient and able to pay for their own employee costs, benefits, and supplies. The dip in general fund expenditures for salary and personnel is a direct result of some of the reductions that were made last year, and also because the December stipend was released at this time last year. So that is why we are ahead of the game in the salaries and benefits collection area. Building fund, we are up a little bit in purchase property service. We opened a brand new elementary that anytime you open a new building, there's associated costs, obviously, with that, with utilities, and everything else is pretty much on track. In child nutrition, again, a little bit of an increase in the supplies and materials for food for the program is just continuing to build and expand. Just get to the last slide. And you can see our 2017 ending fund balance that was reported in our CAFR, and you know, it's hard to believe that the fiscal year is, you know, over halfway through now. We try and curtail spending as much as we can April 1st to start closing things out and preparing for the end of the fiscal year to really get a good picture of what our cash ending fund balance will be.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Just looks like we're just down 500, I mean, you say it just, but for our overall budget of $500,000, I mean, it says a lot to the practices that you all have been implementing and cuts that you've made, and that's...
It's the work of the entire district, to
Right.
be honest. You know, the leadership team spent a lot of time into carefully crafting the reductions that were put in place, but it's really the entire district's work and conservatism that goes into those figures.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions, discussions? Next item, 56.
Okay, my next item is to ask the board to cancel the special board meeting set for February 23rd.
Go ahead.
Since that meeting was set, there's been some recent development with the federal tax reform, and we're actually going to be selling a different kind of bond sale going forward. We've had extensive conversation with financial advisors, tax attorneys, bond advisors, and they feel as though this is the best direction for the district to go to get us out of any implication of advanced refunding, which is now not allowed by the IRS.
Okay, I move that we cancel the February 23rd, 2018 special meeting.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Okay.
Next item, 57.
My last item is to ask the board to reschedule that meeting. I promise I'm not going to cancel it again. We're set in stone now with how we're going for the last week in March for a bond sale of $23,325,000. And our financial advisor has given us the dates of March 27th, 28th, and 29th to set that sale. And again, that is at noon when the markets are open.
The 28th or 29th I can do.
Same with me. 28th, actually, any of those days I can
Any
make
of those
work.
dates are fine with me, so whatever works best.
Steve,
Whatever works best.
Majors,
I'm out on them.
on those days.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any of them.
Well, let's
Do we
choose the
want to do
29th.
is there a preference of a Wednesday to a Thursday that the market's going to be doing any better than the other?
No, I was just told to stay away from Mondays and Fridays, so I think any of those dates, whatever's the board's pleasure.
Okay,
Wednesday.
I move that we have a special meeting on March the 29th at noon for the sale of bonds.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ms.
Thank
Hill,
you.
you're going to send us a calendar invite for that, correct? Thank you. Next item, 58, new business. We have none. Next item, 59, be to move to executive session.
Make a motion that we move to executive session.
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you.